Hello everybody, I am Ms. Hartley and welcome to the Easley Media Center. What this video is going to be about is I want to show you visually the different parts of the library. So if you're using our catalog to do looking for some books that you can check out for curbside checkout, or if you're looking for ebooks, when you see certain codes in Destiny, this video will help you know what you're getting. Okay, so where I'm standing now is what we call the everybody section because these books are for everybody. And what they are is generally picture books. They're good for kindergarten all the way up through third grade or even higher if you want to have some easy times reading a picture book as a fourth or fifth grader. They're not leveled, so you have some books in this section that have one word on a page, and then you have some that have more like smaller paragraphs on each page. Each book in the everybody section, it came from there because it has a spine label and on it it says E. So when you're using the catalog and you look up a book, if you see E, you know that you're dealing with most likely a picture book or a book for a younger child. It actually then also has 3 letters on it, and those refer to the author because here in the library we shelve them in ABC order by the author's last name. So I'll be doing some more videos here in the everybody section to show you different shelves, but for now, this is what it looks like, and E stands for everybody, which are picture books. Okay, so now I am standing in front of the section that we call ER, which stands for Easy Reader. So books in this section are like the beginning stages to reading a chapter book. There's different levels within that. So yeah, as you can see, there's a book like this. It has pretty simple text, but then there's other books that have more chapter-like writing, but they're all generally of this size. So on these books, if you look them up in Destiny, you will see the ER, again, which stands for Easy Reader, and then the first 3 letters of the author's last name, because these are shelved in ABC order. So I'll do some more videos of books in this section so you can get a better idea, but for now you need to understand that ER stands for Easy Reader, and they would be good for kindergarten, first, second, even third grade and up. Here we are, we're actually in the middle of 3 different sections of the library, so I'm going to start off over here. This is what we call our everybody nonfiction section. Okay, so these would be books that are about real things, things that you would get information from and facts from. When you look them up in Destiny, what you'll see is it will have an E, and then it will show a numbers, 3 digits or more, and then the first 3 letters of an author's last name. If you ever look up a book in Destiny and you see that it has numbers in the call number, it might say 599, or it might say 495, or it might say 764. Anytime you see a number, it means that it's nonfiction. So when I'm teaching kids about using the library catalog, we always say numbers, nonfiction, nonfiction, numbers, nonfiction, to get it really into their heads. What I do want you to be careful about, my older students, is that you always want to watch out for that little E that can sneak up on you. Because if you're doing research or if you want to learn about something more on a 5th grade level, you usually have text like this and these sorts of books, which wouldn't necessarily be good for you to do research with. So again, over here, we've got our everybody nonfiction section. These would be good for kindergarten or 1st grade or even up to 2nd grade. They will have an E in the front of them and then a number. Off to this side, we have a really small section that we call PF, or picture book fiction. So these are still picture books, but we keep them a little bit separated for a couple of reasons. Number one, they might be about more sensitive topics, like about war or refugees or other things in history. And sometimes the text in these can be quite long. So it's not something that maybe a kindergartner would want to pick up and read. This is what the text looks like. So if you are looking up in a book in Destiny and you see that it says PF, there's hardly any of them. I would say there's less than 100, but that stands for picture book fiction. And then we're going to roll back here a little bit because now we're entering into a section of the library that's really popular that's called QC. What it stands for is quick chapter. These are chapter books that you would start reading in late kindergarten, early first grade through second grade and third grade and up. So they're not big, hefty chapter books that you would read as a fourth or fifth grader, but they're ones that you start off with. So for example, everybody loves these in first grade. You've got things like Magic Treehouse in this section. You've got Junie B. Jones, which is another really popular books in this section, but there's also lots of cool, funny ones. I'll do lots of videos in this section because this is a section that a lot of kids really love. So again, it's QC, so on the spine label, that's what you'll see. And if you look it up in Destiny, you'll see the QC and then the first three letters of the author's last name, because these are alphabetical. And when you see QC, you know that you're dealing with a chapter book that would be beyond an early reader, generally first grade, second grade. Okay, now we've entered the fiction section. So these are what you think about when you think of a traditional chapter book. Usually I would call this section good for fourth and fifth graders, but some third graders and second graders like to check out books from here too. You'll know that it is a fiction book because it has an F on the spine label, and you will see the same thing in our catalog. So if you look up a book and you see that the call number has an F in it, it's a fiction book, it's a chapter book. These are also in ABC order, and we have quite a number of these. So I'll be doing some videos to show you some more books in this area. Okay, so this part of the library, I've got two things that I want to show you. The first is behind me, and these are our paperback books. So these are books that would normally be in the fiction section, but because they're paperback, we file them separately. But you're generally going to be, when you see PB or paperback in the Destiny catalog, you know you're going to be dealing with what would be considered a fiction book, a chapter book, but it's just of this flexible paper. So we've got a couple of racks of those, and also in this section I wanted to show you, it's a really small section, it's less than 50 books, that's SC, which stands for Story Collection. So these are what you would consider chapter books in terms of length and interest, maybe for fourth and fifth grade. But they're unrelated stories, just collections of different stories. So if you look in the Destiny catalog and you see the SC, that would be Story Collection. And in this part of the library, we are now standing in our nonfiction section. So these are all books that would be having facts and information, but the reading level would be higher than kindergarten or first grade. So second grade and up usually is checking out in this area. So you know it's a nonfiction book if it has a number, okay? So if you see the book in Destiny, if you look it up, this one says 523, you'll know that it is a nonfiction book because of that number. Remember, nonfiction numbers, numbers on fiction, nonfiction numbers. Always remember the two ends that go together. So within the nonfiction section, it's huge, actually. We have many different areas within nonfiction. So I'll be making a couple of videos going kind of area by area so you can see the types of books that are set there. The way they're organized is by something called the Dewey Decimal System, which your parents might remember from back in the day. But it's 10 categories of nonfiction topics that the books fall between. So me as a librarian, if you said a number, I could tell you basically what the book is about just based on what the number is. You guys don't have to know too much about that other than basically knowing that if it is a number, it's a nonfiction book. There are a few things that are a little borderline in the nonfiction section. For example, we house poetry in the nonfiction section. Doesn't necessarily mean that poetries are going to be about real topics, but that's just where it is in general. Also in the nonfiction section, we have a big area on like folklore and folk tales. Again, doesn't necessarily mean that those things are real, but that's just the way things are classified in the library. So nonfiction, very huge chunk of our library, but when you look up books in Destiny, if it has a number, it would come from there. Oh, here we have another very small section that is called SP, which stands for Spanish. So in this section, we have two different types of books. We have books that are bilingual, that are written both in English and Spanish, but also we have books that are just strictly written in Spanish. So if you look up a book in Destiny and you see that SP, be aware that there's definitely going to be Spanish language. It might not have any English in it at all. Okay, here we are in a very popular part of the library that we call graphic fiction. Graphic fiction is just, what I tell the kids, is a fancy way of just saying comic book, really. So when you look up Books in Destiny, if you see the GF, again, that would be graphic fiction, and you're going to be dealing with something that's written in comic book format. So different teachers have different feelings about this section, but kids love getting books out of this area. I would say grade level wise, we try and stay third grade up, but there might be some second graders that like to get books from here as well. So this is graphic fiction.